Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm Samantha Studebaker-Carl, I'm your host, and I'm here with my good friends Dan and Donna and Jason and Julia and Catherine. And where's Sandy today? I just realized she's not on here with us. Okay, well, anyway, that's all right. We are studying the book What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. So if you're brand new here, that's what we're doing. We get together every Saturday morning. We study different personal development books. There's Sandy. She's jumping on now. And so if you're hanging out with us live, jump over to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. That will bring you to our live event page where you can participate in the discussion in the comments below the video. So go ahead and just let us know that you're out there hanging out, where you are in the world. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, at any point throughout the conversation, just add your thoughts to the discussion. We all learn and grow together much better when we all participate. So, okay, so with that, let's see. Let me go ahead and, I'll give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. I kind of lost my train of thought there. So everybody jump out, introduce yourselves, and that way I'll give everybody a chance to get to the right page and they can say hey. And then we'll get this thing going.
Well, I'll start off. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. This is Julia Colon, and I'm coming here from Bronx, New York, and I'm so excited to be here and get to see everyone again. So hi, everyone, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind.
Good morning, everyone.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Smith, Boise, Idaho. Got a beautiful fall day shaping up here, and excited to be here and excited to explore this chapter. So welcome, everyone.
Fantastic. So great to see you, Dan, see Julia, and everybody else on here. It's great to be on here. I've missed it for a little while. My name's Jason Roberts, and I'm here in St. Petersburg, Florida, on the west coast of Florida. And it's a beautiful day, but I am excited to be here on with all my friends. It's going to be a great discussion. Glad to have you on.
Hello, everyone. This is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado. And it's gorgeous here. We had a hard frost last night, and I think we're expecting some snow soon, but it's beautiful and sunny, and really looking forward to our discussion this morning. We're nearing the end of the book, so I don't know if we've decided which book we're moving on to. I'll be excited to hear about that too, so I can get it purchased. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Okay, Dan Sissick here. I'm the other Dan, and not quite as fully gray as the other Dan, but I'm getting there. And I'm here in beautiful Las Vegas. We had a little bit of rain Wednesday that gave us a little smidgen of snow in the mountains by where I live. But looking forward to jumping in on this chapter. Read it last night, and it was an awesome chapter. So I'll see and hear what everybody has to say here over the next hour. Thanks.
Good morning, Sandy Root here, sunny Miami Beach, and glad to see you all here and looking forward to the discussion.
Yes, good morning, Donna from Raleigh, North Carolina. Going to be an interesting discussion.
Did we get everybody? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're actually going to be talking about the self-talk checklist, and we're going to kind of talk about the do's and don'ts of, how to create your self-talk statements so they can be the most effective. And where we're talking about that is actually chapter 21 of the book that I already mentioned at the beginning. And but before I get going, let me just jump over to the page real quick, and then I have one quick announcement, or do I have one or two? I don't remember. Yep. Let's see. We got welcome, BG, Dan, Rhonda, Karen, welcome, welcome. Catherine, Donna, Jason. Awesome, awesome. I love to see so many people showing up for this because I know that we can all learn and grow so much faster when we all talk about these different subjects. I was actually kind of redoing my personal bio that I'm going to be putting on our website, and just kind of going back over in my mind what we're doing here. And I thought, I'll talk about that a little bit and just say, of course, the main reason that we're doing this is so that we can all learn and grow that much faster, because when we study personal development books, of course, we learn something, right? And we probably, we'll apply it in our life and something will happen. But when we can listen to the stories of other people who also are doing the same thing and see how they're applying the principles in their lives, then we have these kind of light bulb moments that go, oh, I could be doing it that way too, So then you actually are able to grow that much faster and that much more progressively and more effectively. So that's why we do this every week. So if you're brand new here, come join us weekly, and of course this is always recorded, so you can find it at replays.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. Okay, before we get going with this particular discussion, I did want to mention the next book. We did a vote, and for the past about a month or so, people have had the opportunity to vote on it, and the one that we have chosen that has the most votes is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And this was written by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I'm going to share this link on the event page here so that you guys can go ahead and get that book. And when you use this link, this is an Amazon link, then Amazon will pay us a small, little portion of the sale so that you guys can help support the Saturday Morning Mastermind and Mindset Mastery Collective. And I also want to mention this. I know Christmas is coming, and a lot of you are going to be doing shopping on Amazon. And I don't say this a whole lot, but anytime that you click on one of these Amazon links that we share for a book and you make a purchase of the book or anything else after you've gotten to Amazon, any of those sales will, we can earn a small commission off of that. So think about that when you do your Christmas shopping. If you like what we do here and you want us to continue to do it, then, help us out by shopping, doing your Christmas shopping on Amazon through the link that we shared there, and that helps us all out. So with that, let's jump into this discussion. Who wants to start the topic or start the conversation this morning? I'm going to start with just, what did you think about this chapter? Maybe I should ask a question before we get going, huh? What is the best thing you've learned from this chapter?
Actually, I want to ask a question because I might have screwed the pooch. Are we on chapter 21?
We are on chapter 22. Did I say 21?
Well, I think I might have read the wrong chapter. I'm a little off because I was gone a couple weeks ago. But so what chapter are we actually on? 21? We're
on chapter 22, Creating Your Own Self-Talk.
Okay, I haven't read that chapter. I read the chapter before it.
Okay, well, we should cover it.
I might be behind.
Okay.
Pop out.
I want to jump out real quick and just mention something. Oh, is this Sandy? You go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I was just skimming through the chapter real quick again. I read it last week because I thought that's what the chapter we were on, so I forgot a little bit of it. But what stood out to me is the taping yourself, making the self-talk tapes, because that's something that I've done in the past, and it is really effective, and I really enjoy it. And how we mentioned adding music to that was something I did too, which I added binaural beats at the recommendation of a mentor. The binaural beats really go more into your subconscious, speaking over the binaural beats and listening to that every morning when I first woke up and every evening before I go to bed. I actually haven't done it in a while. I sort of fell out of it, but it's now reading it again, I'm like, oh, I have to start doing that again because it really is nice. And if you're reading along with it, your voice and listening to yourself on your tape and reading and seeing it on paper, it's just all going into your subconscious more. So really writing down the statements and taking the time to create that for yourself can make a huge impact. So I really want to mention that.
That's great that you're being consistent with it, Sandy, and getting results from it. I wanted to, when I got to this part of the book, like I said, I mentioned a while back, on the 4th of July, it was like my own independence, and I read this whole thing. I just, from cover to cover, I was on the 4th chapter, and it just grabbed me. I'm like, okay, I gotta finish this. And I got to this area, and I'm like, where is this book that he's talking about, the complete book of self-talk? I don't know if I wasn't able to find it anywhere, but if anyone has a copy, I would like it. I just think that would be really great to have. This whole thing speaks to me, but one of the places in here that spoke to me the most and was something I needed to get over was waking up in the morning. It seemed that every night my mind would reset back into these the old way of doing things, the old way of thinking, and it's kind of hard to snap out of that when you're just coming out of a sleep state. So, but I was able to do that, and when they talked about that part in here, it was like, okay, that I see where that helps. But they also talk about how just a couple simple statements aren't going to change everything for you, and that's what I experienced. I had to kind of tackle it from both ends, if you understand what I'm getting at, and I was able to do that with the help of some other success principles. So, but this book was incremental in helping me just change the thoughts, because I think I might have mentioned this once before. I realized that I was actually waking up, and was one of the first things I was saying to myself was this all-encompassing self-talk that was negative, and I was actually thinking everything screwed up was like, came out loud and clear, and I'm like, wow, that is, I gotta change that. And when I did, once I realized that, and I was able to change it, it made a big difference. So that's my 2 cents at the moment.
Well, I just wanted to add that one of the things I liked about this book is that he mentions self-talk that would be familiar to others. And he talks about, I'll give you some of the examples. He puts here, things aren't going to work well for me at work. Today's been a tough day. And these are things that, we would know. I would say to myself, I used to say to myself in the morning. So when he was giving these quotes, it was actually taking me back to when I was working, when I was always rushing home, getting to work. And yeah, it was tough. And I wish I had these self-talk, the way he rephrases it, because he takes each one and teaches us how to rephrase it for us in a beneficial and healthy way. And he even talks about losing weight. And so I thought this chapter was really, really, it had a great impact on me. So I remember, like, how am I going to remember this stuff? Because we all have a busy life and we read these chapters, but then for some reason I forget it. So what I did was once he talked about the weight loss, I knew that my husband is going to the gym and he's he's losing weight and so forth. So I said, what a great way to remember this is to go over this chapter with him. So we did that. He liked some of the self-talk. I call them affirmations, and especially with the weight loss. So it helped me to remember the important aspects of this chapter, which I'm going to do going forward. And so I like the way to end it, to make it short. What I'm trying to say is I like how he took some examples that we say every day, the negative self-talk, and he And he took each one and rephrased it into a positive self-talk. And that's what I really liked about this chapter. He gave us examples of how to rephrase what we're saying to ourselves.
I'll jump out and share my thoughts on it, because I liked what Jason was saying along with what you are saying, Julia. For me, I never paid a whole lot of attention to how I maybe felt in the morning or how I felt at night and stuff. I just knew I was going through the process of the day, and some days I would wake up and I'd be way up here, and other days I'd wake up and I'd be way down here, and other days I come home and I'm way up here, and then I come home and I'm way. So the fluctuations, like say the business and being in the day, but I never understood. I kind of knew it instinctively, but I never applied it. And I kind of knew that I could tell myself, that I can change, because I've done it before, but never on a continual basis. That if I wake up, I can tell myself, hey, this is the mood I'm in, or this is how I'm feeling. Let's snap out of it. Let's look at ways to put some positive things in there. Just like also when I come home after like a 12-hour day and I'm just dead tired, but I know I've got my personal business to do. I've got, things to do around the house and stuff. And instead of just sitting in that and letting that kind of take over, I can do certain things that can help get me out of that and then move me forward to do what I want to do and further my, goals for building my business and, get myself free, and to the point where, I see some of you are at, where you're home, you've got the freedom, you got the things that you're chasing after. I want to get to there too. So this book has really pointed out a lot of things. In fact, I'm going to probably end up going back and rereading it again to just really draw out all the things back for me that I really want to implement into my life to help continue me moving forward. So that's what I pulled out of this chapter, is the meat and some real practical steps, and I don't see that in some other books. In this book, I see some real concrete steps I can do and place into my life and use for going forward. So I'll mute.
I agree with you. It's a very practical chapter, and the thing that I liked about it is just the overall message of you can change. Like whatever you've got going on, you can change it. The key to it is to become aware of what you're saying, because most of us, we don't even think about it. Like for me, okay, I'll give you a real practical example. Is sometimes and I'm sure everybody has this one. I catch myself saying, I don't have enough time, because I've got like all these irons in the fire, so to speak, and I'll look at the clock and I'll say, oh, I don't have enough time, and then I have to, catch myself right there and say, turn it into something more productive, like I have plenty of time, or I can, there's time is irrelevant, I can do as many things as I need to, or there's lots of different ways you can reword it. It kind of, it's sort of depends on the moment and what's going on, how I have to reword it. But basically just changing it from I don't have time or I don't have enough time to I have plenty of time. And I used that a lot this last week, actually. And it was almost freaky because it was like I stretched time or something, because I would, even driving, I would say, oh, I don't have time to get to this place on time. And I'm a person that always likes to be, there a few minutes ahead of time or whatever. And I say, oh, I don't have enough time. And then I catch myself and say, no, I have plenty of time to get there. And like literally, I would not have enough time to get there, but I would get there 5 minutes early. It was really, really strange. So it really does work. Or like, another one for me, the doctors have told me I'm not supposed to sit for the rest of my life. I'm rearranging that agreement there. So when invariably I go somewhere and people offer me a chair, please have a seat. And then it gives me this opportunity every time to choose what I'm going to say. And what I had said in the past, many, many times to my detriment, because I was reinforcing it, is that I can't sit, because I've been told by my surgeon, don't sit for the rest of your life. So I had a tendency to say, thank you, but I can't sit. And I have to like stop saying that. I have to start saying, I prefer to stand, or I choose not to sit even, I think would be better than I can't sit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback on that. Yeah, okay. So things like that, we just have to catch ourselves in the moment and then change it over to something positive, because it gets better as you do more and more of this work. You certainly catch yourself easier, and eventually you don't have to change as many things that you say, but it's still, we're human. We still have these things come up, and we still have to address them in the moment.
I actually did read the chapter. I generally try to read the chapters 2 or 3 times, and anyway, I read this chapter real early in the week, but then I got screwed up and I got on last week's chapter and I read that 2 more times. So I'm well versed on last week's chapter, not so much on this one. But anyways, Brian Tracy has, I've got, I don't know how many different, they're old, they're cassette tapes. But anyway, on one of his series, he talks about some of the same things that Dr. Helmstetter is talking about here, and the way that you write down your affirmations and the way that they are worded, how important that it is. That Brian Tracy talks about the 3 P's: personal, present tense, positive. So everything that you write has to be personal, in the present tense, and it has to be a positive statement as opposed to being a negative statement. And Catherine, I kind of identify with what you're talking about. I hurt my lower back on a trampoline when I think I was 23 years old. Anyway, I went to a chiropractor and trying to get things figured out, and he gave me this big long list of things that you can't do. And so for years I would, one of the things is bowling. Well, I don't care if I ever bowl again ever in my life anyway, but it's just the fact that he's talking about having a 16-pound ball being over your center of gravity and swinging it, that you can put my back out really easily. And so I've had this long list of things that I can't do, Well, I mean, I'm sure. Well, one of them is jumping out of an airplane, and I mean, I always kind of wanted to, but the reality says you're probably never going to jump out of an airplane. So, anyways, it's just that like you said, I had all this big long list of things that the chiropractor told me you can't do this. And so when I would be faced with a situation, I'd play that tape in my mind. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And it just set up certain limitations for me. But I was reading a little bit out of a book yesterday. It's Psycho-Cybernetics, but it's rewritten by Dr. Bobby Sommers. And one of the things she was talking about in this particular chapter I was reading was she was going over that once you make a statement, it becomes true in your subconscious mind. And so when you make that statement, I can't, for all practical purposes, it's written in concrete, so to speak. You can't do it because you've made that negative. It's a positive statement of negativity, if that makes sense. You've made a positive statement, but it's a negative statement, so that negative statement becomes true, becomes real in your life, and it becomes, I don't know, it's like a North Star, something that you guide your life by. I can't do this, I can't do that, and so for all practical purposes, it becomes real in your life, and you would argue your position like a Supreme Court judge. You claim it, okay. But the fact is, like he writes in this chapter here, that you can take a negative statement, something that you said about yourself, and you can reword it. And yeah, I gotta admit, there are limitations that I have for my lower back. There's things that I technically I could maybe do, but I'd only do once, and then I'd pay for it for a year trying to get my back straightened back out again. But technically I could do the thing. So anyways, yeah, 3 P's: personal, present tense, positive, you know, it has to be written in a positive manner. And then I know that, you know, I think Jason mentioned waking up early in the morning. I wake up a lot around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I lay there and I visualize. And I've really experienced here lately things that I have been confessing, my positive affirmations, and when I'm laying there, I can hear those affirmations in my mind, where before I would have probably heard something else. And now I've been working on some of these affirmations long enough that they are taking root there, and so that's what I'm starting to hear. Instead of the old negative statements, I'm hearing those positive statements. So anyways, I've probably talked long enough. I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Yeah, I think that this distinction between, you know, when you say I can't versus, you know, technically I could do this, you know. I mean, there's nothing really stopping you other than your own mind and your own thought processes of doing whatever it is that you want to do. And a great example of this is, I mean, how many different times have we heard these, you know, just amazing stories of people who were you know, paralyzed, or they were, you know, injured in some way and they lost a leg or whatever, and the doctors say, oh, you'll never run again, you'll never walk again, you'll never do anything again, you know, and then all of a sudden we see them riding bicycles and playing basketball, you know, I mean, all these different things. I mean, think about that guy that has no arms and has no legs and all the different things that he does, and compare that to your own self baloney, and you realize that no, it's not a matter of whether I can or cannot do it. It's a matter of, do I have the will to make it happen, right? Or do I want to do it badly enough that I will overcome whatever obstacles there are? And that's what the self-talk is all about. Because if we sit here and we say, like Jason was saying, what were you saying? Everything is all screwed up, and makes that all-encompassing statement about our day. And then, you know, what do we set ourselves up for? We set ourselves up for everything being all screwed up, right? And so we want to make sure that we change that self-talk. And of course, in the previous chapters, we've talked about identifying the self-talk. And in this one, he gives these great examples, like everybody's kind of been talking about. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about how you can reword it. Because like Catherine was saying, is that, you know, she was saying about her sitting down versus not sitting down. The question I would have for you, Catherine, is what is it you want to do instead of sitting down? And maybe create a statement along the lines of, you know, what it is you want to do that will replace that, and then just completely takes the sitting down out of the statement altogether. I don't know. That would be my thought on that. But let's kind of talk about each of these statements, maybe, just to kind of get going here. So if you're saying to yourself, things aren't going very well for me at work, what are some things that we could change that into? Who wants to have a couple of people jump out and share their suggestions? And of course, we have the suggestion in the book, but who wants to jump out? And we'll just do a few of these.
Well, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, you go ahead. I'll let you go first. You haven't spoken, so I'll let you have a chance.
Now, I'm a person of few words, so that's just been me all of my life. You ever heard the movie, I think somebody might have to help me out with this, Back to the Future? Are you all with me on that? I've heard every one of you say it, and I'm kind of like back to the present. I'm sort of like backwards in my thought process this morning. I think somebody that's been on the panel for me a little bit, I haven't been on as long as some have, but you remember that morning when I said everything that I have thought of in the past few years, couple years, I'm living it today. I'm seeing it now. You guys remember that? I think I asked that question. Now I'm going to ask a question, okay? Because this is what I was told. I can't ask questions. Well, I didn't make that. I didn't put that little monkey to the rest. You know, I didn't put him to the side. I can ask a question. So I'm going to ask this question to the panel, and I'm going to leave it at this. If the puppy sees, if our pet sees in black and white, how do we see? Now think about that now. Just think about it. You don't have to answer it right now, but think about it before we end the call. If they see in black and white, how do we see? And one more question. If the farmer says he had 10 cows, now listen now, this is questions that was asking me when I was a young girl, and it would always, like, what are they saying? Okay, I know it sounds like Albert Einstein and my hair is all sticking up, but just think about what I'm asking, okay? Now the farmer said, I had 10 cows, but 6 of them died. That's all I have left. How many does the farmer have? Now I'm gonna leave that alone now, because this chapter really put me ahead of my time in thinking before I ever read the book. That's what shocked that's what shocked my brain before I ever read this book. I've been doing this, but not so much in the most positive way, but I have always said, I want to do better. 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 I'm here now, and I'm doing better. Okay, I'm done with it.
Oh, Donna, you're awesome. Yeah, you're just awesome. I was gonna jump out like for at work because of dealing with my position. I'm like the lead accountant for the one part I deal with, but I constantly have constant interruptions and things like that. So I have constant times where I have to kind of refocus and get myself back to where I want to try and get certain things done. And I'm learning better how to not let the interruptions kind of sidetrack me, that I am going to get what I want done, so I can be at the state I want to be. Before, a lot of times, I might say, okay, well, I can pull this off or that off and do that the next day, not the things that weren't so important. But now I'm realizing that as I'm getting more positive and that I can work through the interruptions, but I can still tell myself, okay, I can still get I can still get these things done. And somehow lately I've been able to do it, and it's been weird. I haven't fully taken into context how I've done it. I just know I'm doing it. So I'm trying to now go back and look and say, what was it in me or in my mindset that helped me still get those things done, even though I have constant interruptions. So I think in that's where doing these steps and doing these things and reframing our thoughts can really, like Catherine said, she has 20 minutes to get somewhere, and she's got 5 minutes, time, but yet she still gets there 5 minutes early, So I think that's powerful, and that helps, in me in those days when I know I want certain things done. So I'm just going from my perspective at work from doing my job. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick, guys, before we go forward, I want to just kind of throw this out there to anybody who's watching or those of you on the panel. Before we start talking about how to reword the statements, does anybody have something specific that they want to work on that we can maybe help you create some self-talk statements? So for those of you who are watching, post on the page, and anybody who's on the panel who wants help just recreating statements, we can talk about that a little bit. But otherwise, let's just talk about what these statements here. Of course, I think that was good, Dan. How about the one that says, I can't seem to communicate with my son anymore? How would you reword that? Who wants to take that one?
That's a good one. Communication is not always my strong skill because, well, I won't go into all that, but I'm getting better at it every day. See, I caught myself. So I would say, well, I really like the example that he gives in the book about I take, this person is worth it to me. I take the time to listen and understand and communicate. I communicate easily. Whether you're communicating with someone else or yourself, you guys have mentioned waking up in the morning. I think the two most important times of the day are right before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. And in my life, I found that depending on my mindset when I go to sleep at night, it affects how well I sleep. It definitely affects the mood I wake up in the morning. If I go to bed in a bad mood, I'm pretty likely to wake up in a bad mood the next morning. And I can pretty much guess that my mind has been working on that all night long, you know, because it's obviously still there. So really taking the time to communicate with yourself, too, right before you go to bed. Even if it's just 5 minutes, this doesn't have to be a 2-hour meditation before you go to bed. You know, you can really, once you get used to doing this type of work, and I mean, you can bring yourself into the present moment within seconds. You know, even if you just set aside a couple of minutes before bed to really just clear your mind, and then in the morning when you wake up to clear your mind and setting intentions as well, if you want to do that, is always good. The thing at work, you know, I was an RN for 20 years. I don't work outside of the home anymore, but there was just never a day where everything went right. There just wasn't. I mean, you know, I worked with babies and intensive care, so I was dealing with some really heavy emotional situations, and you just have to, I don't know, you just have to find the best in the situation. You know, there's always something good coming out of a situation. You just have to find that and focus on that. And just like if you're trying to communicate with someone, you know, sometimes we just don't listen. We really don't. Like, you can almost see the wheels spinning behind someone's eyes when you're telling them something, and they're like thinking about how they're going to respond to you, and they didn't hear anything that you said through the whole conversation because their mind is spinning with thoughts on how they're going to respond to you or rebuttal or whatever. So really taking the time to listen, and then maybe remembering a time in your life where you've been in that situation, because sometimes we get too impatient, you know, going back to the time thing. There's not enough time to listen and have this conversation, you know, we just need to get to the whatever. But it doesn't, as people, we just don't work that way. And not even with ourselves. I keep bringing up ourselves because I tend to see interactions that we have with other people as really a mirror to what we need to address within ourselves. So that's why I keep pulling that back a little bit.
You know, I like what you were saying. You brought up bringing out the good parts, or looking at the good things, and that's what these self-talk. It seems that all his phrases are helping us to see the positive in whatever event it is. Am I right? Who else has a thought on that?
Real quick, Catherine, bingo. Now those two questions, Catherine brought that connection together. I used to say, I can't raise a puppy. I don't know how to train a puppy. Here she is. There's another one laying over there. And Catherine, it was so spot on. It's all about communication. It's what do I want? We all learned that. I used to say, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't everything. But Catherine nailed it with communication. Thank you, Catherine. You put it all in perspective with those two questions, because I think you guys remember when the teachers would ask us those. I used to thought they were stupid questions. What did the farmer say? It would just rack my brain. Now, you get what I'm saying? It would rack, but it was all in the perspective of how do you see this thing, you know. Yeah, communication. That was my biggie right there. And I'm going to say this, and I won't say any more on the rest of the call. Samantha, we had a little talk just a few weeks ago, and she helped me. She doesn't know this, but in 2011, I had started a little blog. I said, oh my God, I can't blog. Well, I had put the blog together, okay? It was a free Google blog, and all of a sudden, it just said, after that call that day, I said, why do I say I can't do this? When I got there and started putting a little this and little, make a long story short, I had wrote about my pets. I wasn't good at writing or anything like that. I had to get someone to help me with the writing. You guys might want to, if you'd like to, read my little story about my pets. That was done in 2011. Guys, it's not I can't anymore. It's I will do this thing. In spite of how you feel, how you communicate, say I will do this thing. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody. I'm done for today.
I wish you wouldn't be, Donna, because I love it when you talk. I want to, I'm going to go read your story, because I know you can blog, obviously. I think we all say that to ourselves in the beginning. I wanted to give another example, just a real-life example, quick. Yesterday or day before, my son texted me. One of my middle grandchildren's birthdays coming up at the end of the month, and he knows that I just made a quilt for my newest grandbaby not long ago, and so he asked me if he could send me his daughter's baby blanket and have me make a larger blanket, like around it, use that as the middle centerpiece, and make a quilt around it for his daughter by the end of the month. Obviously, my son has never done a quilt, especially because I work on a hand crank sewing machine, right? So, so what was my first thought? Oh my gosh, less than 30 days, I can't do that, you know, but I didn't even type it in. I just texted back to him, I will do my best. Send it to me as fast as you can, you know. So that's just another real life example. I guess maybe I'm feeling a little confident since I'm stretching time here, but I'm going to give it my best shot there. And as far as your question, Donna, about the dogs, now, I interpret things way different than everybody else, but the way I would interpret that question is dogs see in black and white. Dogs are, and all animals, not just dogs, they are the perfect example of unconditional love. They see in black and white. They love you or they don't. That's it. And as people, we see in color, and we layer all these different emotions and untrue thoughts and non-serving beliefs on top of everything else. But the dogs, they have it right because they're seeing in black and white. And if we could learn to be more black and white and just agreed to love something regardless of how it is, then our lives would probably, we'd probably get a lot more pets and scratches that way ourselves.
It's funny you would ask that question, Donna and Catherine, making the statement of the black and white, because I'm not sure where this came from, but I know I used to say when I was a little girl, and there are times when I would say, listen, it's black and white, there's nothing in between, there's no gray. So when I would ask a question, I would want a yes or no. But I would get this long sentence or paragraph, and I never got the answer. So in the end, I would say, it's black and white. You know, it's yes or no. What, you know, and I would get frustrated. So now I'm thinking, wow, I remember saying that when I was a little girl. Maybe my teacher said that to me, and I'm just now with the black and white stuff. But to get into the self-talk about children, there was a time where my kids grew up, and I had, you know, as they get older and they move out, you talk to them less and less because they have their own life. And so that was happening to me, and with the self-talk, it did bother me that I didn't talk to my children as much as I did, as much as I wanted to, I mean. And so every day, I would say I talk to my children every day. You know, my children love me, and, you know, my children miss me. It was something that I was saying that I don't know how it happened, but I talk to my kids almost every day now. They call me, you know, and I don't want to miss that call, so I'll take it. And so it's just, I think with me wanting that and asking for it, and when they, and reaching out to them to let them know, listen, I'm here for you, I want to talk to you, I love you, it just opened up a whole new communication. And now they pretty much call me every day. My son, he lives about a good 2.5 hours from me. And he sent me a text and said, listen, next week, can we get together? I want to spend some time with you. So listen, if you believe what you're saying, it will work. So I am so happy that next week I'll be spending time with my son. We're going to watch Snoopy with my little girl. But if you say it and you believe it and you ask for it, I'm telling you, it will happen. The universe will just bring it to you, because it's happened for me. I did it when it came to me resigning from my job, and to now putting it into practice with my family. And I'm just really excited for what the future can bring for me. But I noticed that the more self-talk I give to myself, the stronger I am as a woman, as a mom, as an entrepreneur. It just really affects your day when your words really affect your day. And so self-talk and trying to find the best, like you said, Catherine, find that one good thing out of the day and just focus on that really changes your mood and how you think and how you interact with other people. So I'll go on mute now.
That is awesome. That is awesome, Julie.
I'm sorry, did you ask a question? I didn't hear.
Seems like there might be a delay. I don't know. Jason, what was that question that you asked a little bit ago? You wanted everybody to answer a question, and it slipped out of my mind. Can you ask it again? Do you remember what you asked everybody?
Well, I was talking about how these affirmations or these self-talk phrases are really pulling out what is great about whatever it is we're talking about. Turning it around. If you're talking about communication, seeing it in a different perspective and from a different angle, rather than seeing what is wrong with the relationship, saying what's right and what could be better, and how it's going to be better, and in the present tense what you're doing to make it better, and just looking at the possibilities of the positive rather than looking at the problem. A while back I talked about how for me I had felt like I had been programmed to look for problems throughout my life, because I was a good problem solver. Well, I needed problems to solve, so really good at seeing all the things that were wrong with situations, or things that could happen in the future. We're like, well, no, this is happening, and then that's happening. Well, then that's probably going to happen, and then this is going to happen. So better be prepared for that. That type of stuff. So I think we got to when I realized that that's what I was doing, it was a lot easier to address those things, and so this self-talk has really helped me to recognize what it was I was doing. Like Don, and I think what Don was saying earlier also was that she's used this type of positive self-talk to, she's always wanted to be better. And now with these actual phrases, like Dan Sisk was saying, they're giving us practical ways to turn these around and to make them poignant, and for them to be, accepted into our subconscious, and to override that old programming. I think it's so wonderful to do that. And just so I don't leave anybody hanging with what I had said earlier about, waking up in the morning with these thoughts from the past, like Donna was saying, back to the present. It was like, I had been, not even realizing it so much, but we do get attached to these things that happened in our past. Well, I felt so. We have this, at least for me, you felt so emotional about this, so it was important. I don't want to let it go, But you have to come to a point where you realize if it's not serving you well, what do you want to do? You want to hang on to that, or do you want to let go and give yourself the room to grow and to experience all the great abundance that the world has for you, And the other thing I wanted to say is, like, by doing this stuff, we're looking at the grateful part. We're being grateful, and we're pulling out the positive parts of it. We can. It's all within our own control. So it puts us back into our own power and allows us to really, look at the day better. And so for me, it helped because coming out of a sleep state, like I was able to program myself the nights before, and really break down, why it was that I thought things were screwed up. Early on in my life, things just, the shit hit the fan, and it was bad, and I was just like, okay. From then on, I guess I always had like, oh, things are all screwed up. They're not the way I wanted them to be, or not the way I intended them to be. But when I drilled that down into what are the things that I'm thinking now aren't right or are all screwed up, and then I can take the self-talk and I can address each one of those subjects, each one of those things that I'm holding on to, rearrange it, and so then now when I wake up, I have a different perspective on things automatically, rather than having to even to think about it. But it takes the work of doing that work in the evening before you go to bed, like Catherine was saying, and and believing that it's going to work. And it takes some time, but like Sandy's, she's consistent, and it's helping her, and it's helped me, and Julia, so I'd have to say this stuff is actually working. So I hope I hope this is helping. And back to you, Samantha. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's I loved how you said that it's kind of like automatically working. I think that's such an important thing to bring up, because and you also mentioned you got to believe it, but I'll tell you, even if you don't believe it, if you change the words that you're saying to yourself, then your beliefs change, and I'll give you an example, is because I'm working on losing weight, and I'm working on becoming healthier and stronger and that sort of thing. And so recently I wanted to change my self-talk about exercise, because my exercise self-talk was always negative. I hate exercise. I just don't like doing it. I'm not motivated to go and do it. I've had all these negative self-talk statements. And when I started thinking about what I ultimately want to achieve, which is I want to be strong enough and I want to be healthy enough for when my grandbaby comes along that I'm not completely worn out after an hour, right? I want to have that health. And so I started focusing on my end result, and I created some self-talk statements around that. And without even really trying, all of a sudden I'm just changing my diet. I'm changing what I'm doing every day. I'm waking up with more energy. I'm doing a little bit more exercise, and it wasn't like I had to believe that I was going to love exercising. I just had to decide what it is I ultimately wanted to achieve with my supposed exercise or diet change or whatever, and then focus all of my talk on that end result, and then things just start to happen. Just like when Catherine was talking about earlier, how when she changed her self-talk about how much time was available, and then all of a sudden she had extra time. It's just, and Julia was talking about it too. It's amazing how when you just change the words that you say, it's almost like the universe changes its alignment with you, and it's like you shift into a new paradigm, like Dan has said before when he was talking about shifting your paradigms. And so I think that just making that effort, you don't have to necessarily believe everything that you're gonna say to yourself. You just have to decide, I'm gonna change my self-talk so that my self-talk is more empowering versus disempowering, which is what I've been doing all along. What do you guys think?
Yeah, real quick, it's almost like when you if you're saying to yourself that you don't have time, that's wasting time, because every moment that you hold a thought in your head is a moment that you're distracted and moving in the wrong direction. So yeah, it's all about kind of like pulling things into alignment. I'm sorry, someone else was wanted to.
Me again. You keep jumping on me. No, I'm kidding. No, I think that's a great point, Samantha. That if you do start changing your beliefs, you'll eventually believe them. If you just start, even if you're not believing them, just keep doing it every day, and your subconscious will start to just latch onto them, and they'll become your beliefs. I've definitely seen that in myself when something was like, yeah, that's not true, but then, maybe a few weeks or a month later, I'm like, oh wow, I feel different about that. And I liked what you were saying earlier, Catherine, about the way you go to sleep. And I've noticed this so much lately, because I have, over the past couple months, really made it a priority that when I'm going to sleep to be in that space of I'm already present in what I want in my life. I'm already living it. I am that person that I want to become. I'm that now, and getting that feeling before sleep. And it's funny because last night I got a little aggravated as I was falling to sleep. I was in that space, and then the phone rang, and then my neighbors were loud, and then I was like, ah! You know, I woke up sort of in a cranky mood today because of that, and it really does make a big impact. But the great thing is that if you do wake up in a cranky mood, you can change it right away. If you simmer in that, and it'll could go into your day. But if you notice that when you first wake up, change those thoughts immediately. Like, okay, I feel great. It's a great day. Okay, I'm alive. Just get out of it. And it's funny because, too, my dreams have become more vivid since I've started doing this before bed, really getting in that space of what I want. They're more vivid, and I'm remembering them. And when I am in that space, the dreams are almost giving me advice and wisdom. Like I'll hear a voice, like a man voice sometimes, like saying a statement like of this wisdom, and I'm like, I know, And then in the morning I'm like, wait, what did he say? I should have written it down. But in that moment I'm like, oh, I'll definitely remember. But so it's interesting that I believe there's these spirits that come in and talk to us, and while we're sleeping, and guide us and all that. So go into that space, that vibration, and you'll bring those spirits that are aligned in that vibration to you to give you advice, to help you on that path. And the nights when I maybe go to bed angry, I have nightmares. I have fear dreams, like constant fear dreams. So it really, you can train your subconscious in that way through going into that space before sleep, and your dreams help you, and guides, if you believe in all that, can come and help you transform your life. So that's it for now.
I have gotten some of the most beautiful art designs right before going to bed. Even if you lose, and this works for me, I'm assuming it works for everybody else too, because we're all alike, but maybe you just never thought to do this. If I lose something, let's say I misplace something, I have no idea where it is, and sometimes I'll even look for it all day, and then at the end of the night I haven't found it yet, and I'm like, oh yeah, duh, all I had to do was ask. Before you go to bed at night, just ask to be shown wherever it is. And I've dreamt it. I've lost things, I've asked that question, and I've dreamt exactly, walking exactly to it, and then wake up the next morning with that dream in my mind and walk right to whatever it is. Or when I think about, I do custom artwork, so when I'm thinking about a piece for someone, maybe I just can't picture it in my mind, I can't get the image, and then I'll just ask for it before I go to sleep. Please show me, what would best benefit this person. And I'll get the whole, I've gotten some really complicated, almost like engineer, blueprint sort of instructions through dreams. So never underestimate the power of the dream state.
All right, we're right at the top of the hour. So if anybody has a kind of a final word, then jump out real quick, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Anybody want to jump out?
I'd like to just real quick mention example 4. This one, today has been a tough day, and I like what they say about it. Think about what that tells your subconscious. If you're telling yourself that just because it was difficult, was a difficult day, it must have been a bad day, it can only make you feel less than successful that day. And all that does is convince your subconscious mind that you have failed. Repeating anything that implies to your subconscious that you have failed will only convince it that failing is a pattern it should create. And you don't have to pretend that the day was wonderful, but it isn't necessary to convince yourself that the day was a disaster either. You worked hard, and not everything worked out the way that you wanted it, but give yourself a break and reshape the thought. Today was fine. I feel good about myself, and tomorrow will be even better. That's not ignoring the problem or the hard work. It's simply putting you back on top. And I think that's really summarizes like a lot of what Dr. Shad Helmstetter is saying in his book. So that's all I have. It's been so fun talking and being with you guys today.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's just like when I started with meditating, I would practice and practice, and in the beginning, my mind would just think of other things that were going on throughout the day. But as I continued to practice and remain focused on what I was learning about meditating, it just became easier for me to the point where I am meditating, I'm not having any thoughts about what my day was like. So I just wanted to bring that up. That even though it was like Samantha, you said about believing. I did the meditation with some. I wanted to believe in the meditation, and I was practicing it, and so therefore, the end result it just got better for me. So with the self-talk, it might seem a little weird at first, but if you practice it, it will become a natural process of your thoughts or what you think. I'm sorry, Dan. I had cut you off. You can go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's not a big deal. We're at the top of the hour, but yeah, I'll take it just a real quick minute. I read in another book, and I don't know how they judge this, but anyway, that the average person has over 300,000 plus negative thoughts a day. Like I say, I don't know how they determine that, but for the average person, then the just what you call a default program is negative, and it's worry. It's a form of worry. But through using the positive affirmations and visualizations, through rewording the things that we say to ourselves, it's like a form of worry, but it's a positive worry, and it comes from the same part of the brain or the mind. Everything is the same. It's just that you take control of it, and instead of that being a default negative program, what we're endeavoring to do is turn that into a default positive program, so that the majority of your thoughts throughout the day are positive instead of that default negative. And something that now I can't even remember exactly what you said earlier, Jason, but sometimes it's really important just to forgive. And just, I got this crap that's been in my life in the past, and I keep hanging on to it. But you know what? I'm going to forgive. And you don't do it necessarily for another human being's sake. You do it for your own sake, so that you can get unstuck and get past past that sticking point, that thing that keeps that obstacle that keeps jumping up and popping in your way. And sometimes it's just really important just to say, you know what, yeah, this happened, but you know what, I'm going to forgive it. So I have chosen to forgive it. It's done. It's dealt with. It's in the past. I'm not going to worry about it anymore, just to get it out of the way so that you can move on. Not necessarily for the benefit of that person. It's for our own benefit, so that we can move on and get past that sticking point. And so anyway, yeah, there was other things I got here, but I'm pretty much done. We're past the top of the hour, so it's getting late. So thanks, everybody, for coming today. I appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. This has been a great discussion. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up, but before we go, I just want to do a couple of reminders. First of all, we're going to be starting a new book on December 5th. Is that what it is? It's the first Saturday in December is when we're starting a new book. So next week will be our last week on this particular book. Then on the 21st, Catherine is going to do a series of sacred activations to help us do a free abundance reboot. So if you guys want to participate in that, jump on our mailing list, and I'm going to share the link over here on the event page. So jump on our mailing list for that, and then also I'll also share the link to the next book that we're going to study. And let me get that on there. Of course, the next book is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. Now, guys, this is a long book, and so what I'd like is for everybody to get that book ahead of time and read a little bit of it so that we could kind of get an idea of how we want to tackle that one, because, I mean, I think it's like 400 and some pages, which is longer than some of the other books that we've studied, and we may not want to read every single chapter. We may want to pull, you know, the best wisdom out of it, or we may want to, I don't know. So if we can all kind of read ahead a little bit, and then we can come together and decide how we want to tackle that one. So anyway, with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend, and with that, that's it. Bye for now. See you next week.